Welcome to Worship Tutorials. In the few months since Tonex has been out, we have really grown to love it. Everything that we release these days as far as presets when it comes to amps is available for Tonex, and we will be sort of getting to the backlog of amps that we've done. In this video today, we're going to talk about the Tonex Pedal itself. Linked below is a video that we did a little while back where we looked at the software and the modeling. The pedal just takes that sound, those sounds that you can get from the software, and puts it in a package that you can put on your pedal board. We love it. There are timestamps below in this video, so you can jump around. You can just listen to the clips, the playing samples if you'd like, or you can kind of go and see what you want to see about this pedal. So first of all, I want to talk about the features of the pedal itself. It is meant sort of to replicate your amp, or to replace the amp in your chain. It does so in a way that you can move it around in the signal chain. We'll talk about that here in a bit, but it replicates one amp. So the amp capture, or the amp tone model that you can run, is a single tone model. It's mono in, stereo out. So you can get stereo effects out. There is a stereo reverb built in here, but it is a mono amp. You can't run a stereo board into a single Tonex pedal. If you want to do that, you have to use two Tonex pedals. We'll show you that as well in this video. There are a few effects, though, built into the pedal that you can use. First of all, there's compression. You can put that pre or post the amp in the signal chain. It's a simple compressor, but it feels and it sounds pretty good in our opinion, and it can really change the way the amp feels, especially depending on where you place it in the signal chain, either pre or post. There's an EQ available, and the EQ is kind of, there's a lot more to it than you might think. So you see like bass, middle, treble on the pedal, and that's what you see on the actual Tonex software, but there's actually a lot more to it that you can access on the pedal as well. For example, you can change the frequency of the mids and the Q, the frequency that you're adjusting with the treble and the bass. It's a nice sounding EQ, very functional. It can also be placed pre or post on the amp block. Essentially, you're going to use it to revoice the amp slightly, the amp capture. There's a reverb available as well. It can't get huge and ambient, but it is a nice sounding reverb. So if you've got, you know, a reverb pedal on your board and it's sort of your always on type of sound, the Tonex pedal can replace that for you if you'd like, or if you're like us and you're sort of a reverb nerd and you've got reverb computers on your boards, you don't have to use it, but it's nice to have it there in case you want. That is a stereo reverb available to you, which is why Tonex has a stereo out. So the pedal is nicely laid out as far as its controls. You can do everything that you can do in the software, you can do on the pedal. You don't have to connect to the software. And once you learn all the functionality with it, it's fairly easy to use. The software is nice if you want to connect it to your computer via USB, but you don't have to. So the front knobs on the pedal are kind of what you'd see on an amp. You've got gain, you've got bass, middle, treble, and then volume, which is your overall output volume. These give you access to the EQ on the Tonex capture. Again, with the secondary functions on the pedal, you can access the hidden functionality of the EQ, like the Q, the frequencies of all the different bands, that kind of thing. Also in the hidden or the secondary functions on the knobs, you can control the compression, the reverb. You can even get in there and separate the amp block from the cab. Like if you capture what, for example, all of our captures are the amp and cab in an entire system, Tonex lets you separate the cab out of there and then run either IK's cabinet modeling or any impulse response that you'd like. You can do all of that from the pedal itself. You can adjust the reverb if you want. All of it is available to you on the pedal. Now the pedal has 3 buttons, which gives you access to 3 different presets per bank. There are a lot of banks. You can have a ton of presets on this pedal. It's MIDI capable, so you can control it with a MIDI controller if you'd like. So really what you can do is the A, B, and C buttons, you can set those up a number of ways. You can replicate a channel switching amp like this orange Rock Reverb 100 watt amp. Like you can have the clean channel, you can have the dirt channel on, you can have the clean channel on button A, the dirt channel on button B, and flip between them. You could take an amp and capture it clean or capture it by itself and then capture it with different drive pedals in front of it if you'd like. And then you could have those on A, like A could be just the amp, B could be the amp with a tube screamer, C could be the amp with a rat or another distortion. So you could get different gain staging, or they could just be 3 completely different amps. You could also take one amp preset. This is how I kind of like to run it. You could take one amp preset, say our AC30, which is available below for free, the O2 Korg era AC30, and you could have it set up for 3 different guitars. Like you can really tweak the EQ and the gain staging to like perfectly dial it in for your Telecaster on A, for your Les Paul on B, and then a different guitar on C, or C can just be a different amp. So really, you can configure the pedal however you'd like, but it's a very convenient form factor and control layout.
It's 2023. At this point, what other new thing do we need, or who is this for, or why would somebody want to switch over to the Tonex? I think the tendency for a lot of people is to see a unit and the housing that it comes in and automatically make an assumption about, oh, it's just like Stomp, but it's not as flexible. I've seen comments to that extent, and this thing really is seeking to just be your amp pedal, your amp in a box. There's a couple ways you can do that. The first is you can run everything straight into it and be mono and be good to go. You can run 2 of them, run your whole pedal board straight into them, stereo in, stereo out, good to go. Or you can run it in the middle of your chain and basically at the end of your mono chain and then begin your stereo chain right afterwards. It's mono in, only 1 amp capture at a time per unit. I guess if you really wanted to run stereo amps and stereo effects after, you could also do that as well. But the way we have the board we typically showcase on the channel, we go compressor, drives, Tonex. From Tonex, we start the stereo field for modulations and wet effects and whatnot. And we just do that because it's a little easier. Also, the point of those videos is to showcase just the amp sounds. When you do that, your effects after the amp aren't adding as much character. They aren't running into the amp. So there's not this gnarliness that comes with the wet effects. Brian tends to love that kind of sound. He likes that. He likes them a little more pristine. I tend to like all my effects running straight into the front. It's just a preference. It's like, what do you like? What do you think sounds great? This isn't seeking to model an amp. That's what like a Helix or Fractal is doing. This is, or even Iridium, ACS1, those are models of amps. This right here is a snapshot, a capture of the whole recording chain of an amp. So in order to get this, you have to put mics in front of it. The way we do it, we run our 121, Royer 121, Earthworks SR25 into our Neve 1073 preamp. We make the capture, we make the clone, make the profile for all the things. There's different names nowadays. Makes my brain hurt trying to keep up with it all. But it's the whole chain. And it's basically just the way that amp is at that moment when you shoot that thing. This, for example, is very, very accurate, in our opinion, to how amps mic'd up in another room sound and take effects pedals. If what you are seeking in a setup is just to use a digital pedal for amps, this could be a great option for you instead of maybe looking at a quad cortex. They both feel and kind of take things a little differently. Honestly, to me, it's like, I like Wendy's and McDonald's French fries, but sometimes one hits better than the other. It's just, they're both French fries and they both taste good, but some days you want McDonald's. Some days you want Wendy's. Some days you want waffle fries. You want to go Chick-fil-A. So really killer sounding unit for somebody who really likes using pedals. The effects on these units aren't meant to like be effects as much as they are to enhance the amp sound. So these really are for people who really like the idea of running pedals into an amp, but either can't have an amp, too loud, too heavy, too big, too cumbersome, or they would just rather be digital. When you come out of this unit, it's quarter inch, it's not XLRs. You are going to need to consider how you're going to get audio to front of house. For a live scenario, we have the DSO Plus. You could use a regular DI if you want. Those tend to not give you as much volume, so it introduces more noise. The Walrus Canvas Stereo, or if you need mono, whatever, those are great options for doing that. But these pedals are for somebody, again, who really wants amp sounds and really just wants to try different amps as well. Things of that nature are just, it's a little easier on a pedal like this. It's a different experience. It's a different thing. It feels fun. So overall, great sounding pedals. The quality is great. They stand up to using effects, whether you run effects post or pre. You've been hearing clips of both of those throughout this video, and they're just really fun to use and inspiring. Just the idea of knowing, hey, I can use that purple plexi that Jonathan from Tone Junkie has. That's pretty cool. Allegedly, it was in the studio with Slash. We'll never really know, but pretty cool. So it's a different experience. It kind of gives you the vibe of running the real amps, the real thing, and just exactly as the content creator, the patch creator made for you at that exact time. So thanks so much for checking this out and joining us as we go through this. Tonex came out a while ago. Actually, the software Amplitude's been out for quite a long time now. And we did have people in the past ask us to cover it, but for us, it was just, we didn't really see what we'd be doing with it. You know, we figured a video and, you know, there we go. But Tonex really speaks to what we get to do. We can offer presets, we can offer amps, just another unit that we can just offer high quality stuff that people have told us they like. And so we're going to keep making available. So everything you've heard in this video is available for Tonex. You can get them links below. Hit up our website to check them out. We thank you so much for your support. Again, thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.